This is Evan Abrams for PremiumBeat.com, and in this After Effects tutorial we are going to be going from one comp into another comp using a lot of vector graphics to transition in and out of an eyeball as if that eyeball was staring at this graphic we have created. It's a pretty nice effect, it's a pretty great transition, and if you're creating a lot of vector work, this is also a good primer to teach you how to seamlessly go from one composition through another and finally into a third. So it's a good way to help you organize files, and maybe it'll give you some ideas about what you can incorporate into your own projects. So without further ado, let's seamlessly transition into the tutorial. So here in After Effects, I have the work file that I used to make the intro up, and as you can see it starts animating, and before this comp is even done animating, we are moving and something else is changing, and then we are moving back into the comp, and that comp is animating inside this comp, and now it takes up the entire screen. So what we'll be doing is creating the start and ending comps and then wrapping those in a delightful transition middle. So let's go ahead and create a new comp, and let's call this Start. And we're using the HDTV 1080 29.9 preset. Let's click OK. Now the first thing we need to do is put a background in here. So we're going to create a new background to start, and we're going to do that by making a solid, and this is going to be the same color as the center of the eye. So I'm just going to hit OK on this, and we've created a solid. Now I'm going to put some text out on that. New text. Cool. And I'm going to type out start. Okay. So it's not really important what all of this is at this point. Just, make whatever your starting frame is going to be. I mean, in the case of the example, it was some words that meant something, but, for us, it's not that important. Now, let's create a new solid, and let's make it another color that we're going to work with. So, in the example, it was oranges and grays and a little slate, but I'm going to go with a dark magenta instead because I'm feeling like doing something different. So now we are going to poke its eye out. We are going to take the rectangle here, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle around all of these. So here is one rectangle like this. Now I'm going to go into that mask, grab that mask path, and duplicate it, creating another one. Then I select that mask path, double click on it, drag it down like so, duplicate that mask path, select it, and drag it down like this. So now I've created a stack of things. Cool. And we're going to move ahead 10 frames, and then we are going to set keyframes for the mask path. Move ahead, select all of these, double click on them, move them over like this. Okay, go to the start, select all those keyframes, double click on them, move them all over to the beginning like this. So if you observe, then they are coming on and across like so. Excellent. We're going to go down here to the mask opacity. I'm going to go on to frame 2, setting keyframes for mask opacity. Excellent. Select all those keyframes. And we're just going to set one there at 0. Set one here at 100. One at the end that is 0, meaning that all of those shapes come and go and they disappear. Now we're going to offset them. So I'm going to click and drag all these keyframes here. Click and drag all these keyframes to be here or hereabouts. Okay. I'm going to select all those keyframes, hit F9. I'm going to go into the graph editor. I'm going to select them, and then I'm going to manipulate all of their handles so that they all have more interesting curvature to them. So they all come across like that. Now I'm going to duplicate this solid. I'm going to put it above the text here. I'm going to set the text to have a track matte of that shape above. I'm going to call up those masks again, and I'm just going to delete the last part of all of those. So means it does this. So you can put whatever you'd like in your initial comp, and likely when you apply this technique, you will have something totally different in this part of your composition. But for our purposes, I think this is good enough. So this will be our start. Excellent. So let's create an end. So we have the start, duplicate it, hit return, type end. I'm going to rename this the end, and at which point I'm going to go in here, change the text to be end, end, end. Okay, that's fine. And as you can see, everything is already preserved for me, that it comes on using the masks in the same way. Awesome. So we have a start, we have an end. Let's put it all together. So I'm going to create one called middle. All right. And in the middle, we want to start with the start. So this is going to animate on, and before it is done animating, I want it to be shrinking down. Instead of just scaling this, I'm going to create a new null object. That null object will be taking care of any scale. So I'm going to hit S and bring up its scale. Starting at 100%, we are going to move ahead 30 frames, and it's going to go down to half. So if you go to the beginning, you parent this layer to that null object, it is going to shrink down as the null object shrinks. Okay, that seems perfectly reasonable to me. So we now need to draw the shape of an eye that is going to basically be around this. So we're going to go here, pull up the proportion grid, and use this to help us draw one. And I'm going to use the pen tool and take the fill off for now. And we're going to have a stroke, and let's make the stroke maybe like a darker, there we go. That looks good. So how do we draw one of these? Well, I'm going to put one marker there. Then I'm going to put another one, let's say up here, and then one over here, and then down here, and finally close the shape. All right. Now I'm going to zoom in and position these so that they are right on the edge and right on the line. So right there, move down over here, try to be as exact as possible. Symmetry is key. If you don't care that much, then don't worry about it. And put that one right there. Okay. Now we are going to use the convert vertex tool to convert these points here. So you click on them, it converts them from being linear to being Bezier, and then pull the handles out. I'm holding Shift as I pull these handles out. So you click on it once and then pull the handles out, or you can just click and drag and it'll pull the handles out like that, and has created the shape of the eyeball. Awesome. Now we are going to go into this, go into its contents, go into its shape, go into its path, and on this path we're going to set a keyframe, and that keyframe is going to be important to us because this is an open state of the eye. We're going to go ahead 10 frames, set another keyframe, and then just select this point, drag it down to the middle like this, select this point, bring it into the middle as well, just like that. So closes, then we're going to move ahead and we're going to duplicate this first keyframe here, copy and paste, pasting it right where we want it, and so it is closing and opening. Okay, that seems so far so good. To this shape we are also going to add a rectangle, and as you can see, that rectangle is just a little square, but you can make it incredibly large, make it bigger than you think it might need to be, maybe 2000 on either side. And then we're going to add to this shape a merge paths, and then we're going to ensure that this thing has a fill on it, I don't really care so much about the stroke on it. And on this merge paths, it's going to be set to excluding the intersection. So anywhere where these two things intersect with each other, it is not going to be visible, meaning we now have basically a large shape with an eye shape cut out of it. And we're also going to want to parent this to that null object so that it is scaling as this thing is scaling. Okay, so far so good. Now we can also take this and we can scale it up to be big enough that you can't see it when we're looking at this first comp. So, doop-doop-a-doo. That looks pretty good so far. So, what else do we need to do with this thing? We need to fill in the background. Well, we can just take one of those black solids and move them back there. So, that's pretty seamless. But we need the rest of the eyeball that's going to go in behind. So, let's create a bunch of circles. So, we go in here, go to the ellipse tool, double click on it to make an ellipse. It doesn't need a stroke on it. It does need a fill on it. And that fill I would like to be white or something close to it. And we can adjust all these colors later. Don't worry yourself too much with the colors. So go into the ellipse, go into the ellipse path, and we'll make it 800 by 800. That looks pretty good for being the iris, I think. Let's select the group, duplicate it, take that first group here, and we're just going to make sure those properties are linked and expand it out to be really big. That's going to be the eye white. The one inside that's smaller, it can be a color, closer to the color that you would think an iris would be, maybe. I don't know. Maybe something like this. Cool. Now duplicate that again. And this one is going to be black, and which is going to need to be smaller. So you can link those and make it smaller. Okay. So this, the eyeball layer, needs to be behind the start. You see there? See how it needs to be behind that? And it's also going to need to be parented to that null object so that it is scaling down as well. Okay, so don't worry. I mean, if this is all getting super confusing, it'll start to make more sense as it all starts to come together. So the first thing that I want to do with this eyeball layer is rename it eyeball. And I'm going to hit UU on there. I want to change things like the size of these two things here in the middle. All right. So going back, you can see their outlines of where they are. I want them to be larger. So let's make sure their properties are linked. Expand this to be outside like this. Expand this one to be outside like this. Okay. So those are both outside there now. So as we zoom out, those are going to shrink. Okay, so far so good. Take that, duplicate it, so we have eyeball 2, put it above the start, hit UU to bring up everything, and we can delete everything except for that innermost black circle, and we're going to set the start here to have an alpha mat of that eyeball, meaning we're pretty much back where we started, but you can see when we zoom in, that kind of pinches in on it, and then the eyeball blinks. Just like that. Okay, so we are pretty much there. Let me just touch up the colors here a bit. So on this red thing, I don't think that's really a quality color for what we are creating. I mean, if this is like a space eye, I'm digging that. That's super weird. Awesome. Let's also give it kind of an outline to this eye. So I'm going to do that by going into the contents, duplicating shape 1 here, get rid of the rectangle and the merge paths, put on the stroke, get rid of the fill, take that stroke, change its color to be the same as the outside but darker, and make that thicker. Okay. And I'm going to alter the stroke here to have round caps and round joints. And then we are going to adjust its stroke width to go from 15 to 25, and then it's going to go back to 15, like that. And now let's select everything, hit U to bring up its keyframes, take every keyframe you've got, ease them by hitting F9, and let's go into the graph editor and mess around with these. So what I'm going to do for these ones here that are on the eyeball blinking, I'm going to pull them so that now they look quite different. So taking these handles so they have this kind of a shape to them. If your graph editor doesn't look like my graph editor, it's likely because you're not looking at a speed graph, so change this to not say edit value graph or auto select graph type, have it say edit speed graph. And so that one seems to be working correctly. And let's grab these keyframes here and grab them, put them like this. Blink. Okay, good. So now we have things blinking, and that's super good. So it comes out, it blinks. I mean, if you want it to blink again, you can just take all of these keyframes, copy and paste them, it blinks again. When it's totally closed, then you can relieve yourself of this layer here. You can just have it close, and when it opens, that is totally gone. So that's awesome. If you want the eyeball to move around, then just go to the eyeball layer down here and mess around with the position of these top two. So these two shapes here. And what I would recommend you do is you move one of them over in one direction, something like 100, but then move the other one slightly more, so it moves like 150, which can produce this kind of 3D-ish effect to its movement, which I think is pretty good. And you should always ease it. So, which is, you know, it looks kind of creepy, but it might just be the colors that are creeping me out a little bit. And, you know, take the initial thing, copy and paste to bring it back. So anyway, that's how you can move that around, just by keyframing the position there. And now, if you want to have something else show up in the eye, I would recommend that you just take these, duplicate them, move them over, pay attention to the keyframe start and end states that you are interested in, meaning that you want the layer to already be kind of in there. So this thing's starting to animate. We want it to scale back down. We want the eyeball to scale as well. So let's work with the null object first. So we're gonna zoom in by returning this back up to 100%, and then we are going to also look at these keyframes here. So this eyeball here has to grow to allow all of that shape to be visible, and we're going to need these. Copy and paste them so that it starts here and ends here like this. So and it looks like that works quite perfectly. So, and now the only thing you have to do is hold down Alt while you select this comp, select the one to replace it with, and there it goes. So then you are free to continue on with this comp, with whatever it does and gets up to. But you've now encapsulated one inside the other. And I mean, you can have this blink as it goes, so blink. That kind of just underscores the movement, but that is about it. You've started with one comp, and you know, this could be adjusted so that it's coming in just at the end, and then we blink again, and then we are moving on to another composition, just like that. That's how you seamlessly go from one thing into the other by nesting and tying them together. So, this has been Evan Abrams for PremiumBeat.com. Come to Premium Beat for all of your sound effects and music needs. I'm sure for any sort of vector businessy presentation where you're animating a bunch of things, you're going to need some sound effects, like whatever the sound effect of blinking is. I blinked really hard into the microphone, but you probably didn't hear it. Anyway, you should check out the Premium Beat blog for tips, tricks, and tutorials in After Effects and other applications. Also, if you want to see more of my stuff, check out evanabrams.com or my YouTube channel, EC Abrams, or hit me up on the Twitter at EC Abrams on there. And if you want to see all of the things that I do on PremiumBeat.com, then you should check out the authors section and just click on my name. It'll be pretty rad. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to Premium Beat in all of its forms on YouTube, Vimeo, and all that stuff. And I will see you next time with more things in After Effects. Thanks again for watching, and have a nice day.